Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, June the 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting will be recorded for a public broadcast and viewing. And with that, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Colwell, seconded by Councillor Roblinas. Do we have questions to the motion? No questions to the motion. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. I'll remind everyone that there's conflict of interest forms in the middle of the table. If there's anything on the agenda, you have a conflict for, please fill it in, pass it to the clerk, stating the reason. With that, we'll move on to item number 4, new business. Item number 1, presentation rezoning application introduction, PID 00816-140. Lori Bickford from Plan 360. Welcome, Lori.
Speaking of that presentation, yes.
I don't have my mouse, I'm sorry.
So staff at Plan 360 have received a request. It's for a municipal plan and a zoning bylaw amendment. And the proposal would be to redesignate and rezone the property off the Dundee Drive. You'll also note in this that there'll be a second component to this that I'll get into as we get into the slides, which will be an actual text amendment to the zoning bylaw as well that's proposed. Okay. So I've highlighted the property that's in question right now, so it's outlined in the red, but you'll see that Dundee comes up over in the McDonald. This could be a connection point that is included on our future land use map as well for a proposed future road. But at this point, the applicant is proposing to redesignate and rezone the property to village center to accommodate higher density development. And then tentatively, it's proposed to be 5 multiple unit dwellings from up to 2 8-units to 3 6 units as well on 5 separate properties. So the second component to that is the text amendment, which is to modify the minimum lot area requirements for multi-units in Salisbury. This affects 2 zones. There's only 2 zones in Salisbury that actually permits higher density, and that's the village center and the residential neighborhood service commercial. So residential neighborhood service zone. That would be the strip along Fredericton Road, going from the highway down to the train, the rail line essentially. So this is a tentative subdivision. I just threw the blocks on here to help it stand out a little bit as to where proposed building locations would be so that you could get your orientation of how it's tentatively proposed to be laid out. But the other component to this, which would come along as well if we start into this process to change, would be that you would be required to do a Class 2 subdivision, which is the creation of a new public road. So again, that portion would come back to council, where council would look at whether they want to accept that road and as well as enter into an agreement for its construction. But right now, the property actually abuts the village center designation on the future land use map, as well as the zoning map. So again, we're talking right here. So this yellow area being the subject property and the brown area being the village center. So we're looking at extending that zone and designation over there. So the village center zone does promote the greater mixture of uses, higher density development, as well as that's where you're looking to promote your public services and your economic activities within the municipality. So that is the most appropriate zone for this particular request. And the property's position and the actual size of it is one that makes it a good candidate for extending that village center. If this was not already abutting the village center designation, it might not be as good of a candidate as this particular one, but that does all align with making it a good candidate. So during the process of looking at the tentative subdivision and the lot layout, it was noted that the minimum lot area requirements could not be met for this particular development, which created that bigger look at the whole lot size requirements in general. And then in comparison, when we started to look at the provincial building regulations for multi-units, was determined that the majority of the regulations matched. However, when you get to lot area, we went from 102 square meters for each dwelling. And that was in excess of 4 units. In Salisbury, it ended up being adopted as 122 square meters for each dwelling unit. So we didn't even say in excess of 4. So because of that, that adds a significant amount of area to the proposed lot. And in looking at it, the way the applicant is laid out the proposal to date, it could meet the provincial building regulation, but not Salisbury's. So in order to pursue the development, at that time, we figured it's a good opportunity to also match the zoning requirements with the provincial regulations as well. In council's interest. And we can run those two processes consecutively so that they're happening at the same time. So under the Community Planning Act, when council is looking at considering a rezoning request, and in this particular case, automatically you have to amend the municipal plan if you're going to consider a rezoning, because you can't have a confliction with the municipal plan and the zoning bylaw. Council can pass a resolution to set a public engagement component and lay out a process for engaging the public and seeking comments from the public. At that point, though, when you're passing the resolution, it's you considering, it's not a guaranteed you're doing it. So it's just kind of sets that motion in play. It directs staff to go out, start to draft up bylaws, look at researching further, engaging the public, putting out ads to invite them to submit their comments. The alternative, of course, if you're not interested in considering the change, then you wouldn't pass the resolution, and that would be the end of it. And then the second part in this one would be that council would also be looking at passing a resolution as to if they want to consider changing that lot area requirement that I mentioned. So if you want to do that, again, we would follow a very similar public process, just so that you're not duplicating and confusing people over these two processes that are going on. We would try to seamlessly run them together. Probably combine some reports as well and presentations, just so that it's not confusing to the public or trying to limit confusion. So, yeah, if you're not interested in doing that text amendment, then you choose not to enter into the resolution to direct us to do so. And that concludes my overview. Any questions or?
Motion first and then questions. So there's two recommended motions on the soon to be on.
You want me to read
They're
it?
long ones.
I don't. Okay, okay. The first one is to amend the Salisbury Municipal Plan. Whereas council has considered an application from Michaud Capital Corp to amend bylaw number 50, the Village of Salisbury Municipal Plan by changing the designation on the property known as PID 00816140 from residential to village center on the future land use map. And whereas council has agreed to consider rezoning the aforementioned property from residential use to village center, be it resolved that the council of the town of Salisbury directs that the appropriate bylaws be prepared to amend the municipal plan and zoning bylaw as it pertains to the above noted changes, that the proposed bylaws be referred to the Southeast Planning Review and Adjustment Committee for their views, that the notice of intention requirements of the Community Planning Act be fulfilled with respect to the proposed amendments, and sets the council meeting on Monday, July 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at the Municipal Office, 56 Douglas Street, Salisbury, New Brunswick, as the date, time, and place for the public presentation of council's intent to amend the municipal plan, and sets a special council meeting on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at the Municipal Office, 56 Douglas Street, Salisbury, New Brunswick at 7 p.m. as the date, time, and place for the public hearing of consideration of objections to the proposed bylaws. So moved.
Moved by Councilor Thorne, second by Councilor Colwell. Questions to the motion?
Who wrote that mouthful?
So the meeting on the 8th is separate meeting from our regular council meeting?
Yeah, because then what will happen is pending that public hearing, that's the subsequent Monday, which is our scheduled council meeting. Pending the results of the public hearing, could have first and second reading of the bylaws themselves.
Additional questions?
Would this condense to like a 2-month process, I
It
guess?
saves about a month just on timing alone, yeah.
So we already have a meeting on the eighth. At 7.
No, the 12th. 12th.
It's the 8th is the Monday.
No, it's 12th.
No.
No.
The 15th is a Monday.
12th is a Friday in July.
Yeah, this is August.
No.
He's asking.
We're talking
It's
July.
July, sorry. Yes, oh, sorry, July 8th, yes, that's just a, so it's an agenda item. I thought we were talking about the public hearing. sorry.
Okay, yes.
That's part of the normal meeting. That's
So
part
our
of the-
normal meeting's at 7 and this says 6.
So we'll add it prior to.
So we'll do before, so this will be a 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Hearing will be 6.
Sorry, we're not talking about the same thing.
Yeah, the meeting
Yes.
starts.
And then,
I don't know what we're talking about, but I will be there.
So,
and on the 7th,
And that's a special meeting. Public hearing is a special meeting. Yeah.
okay.
clarity? Any additional questions? No additional questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried with correction.
We have a second motion too.
Okay.
You ready for the second motion?
Yep.
Whereas council has considered amending bylaw number 51, the Village of Salisbury zoning bylaw to change the minimum lot area for multiple unit dwellings in the village center residential neighborhood service zones. Be it resolved that the council of the town of Salisbury directs that the appropriate bylaws be prepared to amend the zoning bylaw as it pertains to the above noted change, that the proposed bylaw be referred to the Southeast Planning Review and Adjustment Committee for their views, that the notion of intention requirements of the Community Planning Act be fulfilled with respect to the proposed amendment, and sets the special council meeting on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at the municipal office, 56 Douglas Street, Salisbury, New Brunswick at 7 p.m. It's the date, time, and place for the public hearing of consideration. Objections to the proposed bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Bluen, seconded by Councillor Bannister. Questions to the motion?
I have a question. I'm just wondering if there was any rationale as to why we kept that lot size higher than the provincial minimum requirement when we did our plan? Or was it just like, we just kept it because it was like that before?
Or do we typo?
Or did we do a type?
I tried to look back at the draft that we were working on to see if it was a typo. There was no in excess of 4, although when you get into the, I believe there's another setback or something in there that, or maybe might be frontage, that talks about in excess of 4. So to be honest, I don't believe
Okay.
that there was a intentional to conflict with the two. I believe it was a carryover from previous numbers
Okay.
and just never,
That's what I wanted to know. Is like, was it intentional that we didn't put it at the provincial minimum or just like, I
I
don't.
mean, there was too many other things. that
It's a
were-
large plan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And they were like, when you look at the front yard setbacks and or not front yard setbacks, but when you look at the frontage requirements and, the general depth, it's all so similar that it just
Didn't
stuck out.
stand- It didn't stand out.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Good question, Councillor.
So the street that you're saying the municipality would be responsible for is the street coming in off of McDonald?
Yeah, so what would happen in this particular case is if he pursues this development as he's proposing, he would actually come in and build this section of road that's the loop between Dundee and McDonald.
This? Okay,
Separate process from these particular ones because these ones are changing the zone and changing the lot area requirements. And then the public road itself becomes a subdivision process.
okay, thank you for clarifying that.
It would come out right in front of Chad, right? Basically.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it's designated as a future street
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
zoning bylaw to come right up there.
So it is a connection that was identified before, during the municipal plan review, that is an important one to, create that second exit out of the subdivision.
No additional questions? No additional questions, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. With that, we'll move on to item number 2. Thank you, Lori, very
Thank
much
you, Lori.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
As always.
I'm seeing a lot of field supported here.
Important initiative, so.
Yep.
No, it's
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna clear out, isn't it?
This is the most people we've had in the gallery, and I was hoping we could keep Rachel the hockey. Good night.
Night.
Okay, with that, we'll invite our next guest up for the presentation of the 2023 municipal financial statements. Lisa Casey from Ernst & Young. I feel like we've had these meetings, before recently.
The time of year that I'm presenting and presenting.
Yes,
Well, thank you, Mr.
I guess that was
Chair.
probably somewhere else.
So I will go through the draft audited financial statements. Assuming everybody went through everything.
Light weekend reading.
As well, I did.
We can count on something. If I missed something, I know Stephanie would have got it.
So maybe before I start, there's a few items that I need to present before. So first of all, to confirm that EY is independent of municipality of Salisbury. The auditors will always have to be independent. And also the financial statements are presented under the public sector accounting standard, which differs from the internal fund accounting. So there's 5 funds that were consolidated to do presented the audited financial statements. And the audit went well, so thank you, Diane, and your staff for answering all the questions and that we had. So I know this year, you've noticed, or you're all aware, you have more municipal, I guess, property tax or revenues and expenses. So it was kind of hard to compare with prior years, but your new base moving forward should be more compared. And there was no unadjusted differences. So what that means is when we do an audit or audited statements, there's a threshold which we can accept that I didn't not be adjusted, but I'm not confirming that everything was adjusted, but there's nothing that was unadjusted. Audited financials. So now if we move on to the statements, I will go through if you have any questions. Stop me if I'm presenting or wait until the end. I'm open to Peter. So first, in our independent auditors report, so I confirm that we audited the financial statements of the municipality of Salisbury for the year ended December 31st, 2023. And in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality. That means that it's a clean audit report, you're following the accounting standards. And in terms of our auditor's report, it will be dated the day that it's approved, and I think the approval will be July 8th. So that's fine. It always has to be the date of the approval. So if we go on the statement of operations and accumulated surplus, so that's on page 3, I think it's page 5 or 6 of the PDF. So you always have your first column, which is the budgeted numbers, and then you have your 2023 actual and the 2022 actual. So this is for the period ending December 31st, so for the 12-month period. So in terms of your revenue, the total for 2023 was 6.1 million. Hard to compare to prior year once again, so maybe compared to the budget, which had budgeted 5.5. So you're 574,000 over budget, which mainly comes from the grants that was received that are not budgeted. And for the warrant of assessment, maybe just to bring your attention, the budget was 4.9, and you'll notice there's 5,018,000. So the difference of the 67,703 is the LSD 2021 surpluses that you've received in the year. So we left them in under warrant of assessment, which every like it presented in a separate line in all these, but it's part of the revenues that you got from the province of New Brunswick. So because usually those numbers are the same, so just wanted to point that out. In terms of the expenses, the total expenses for 2023 were 5.6 million.
Your budgeted expenses was 5.3, and remember that the numbers that I'm presenting are under PSAS, the deferred from fund account. So you're 245,000 over budget, but keep in mind that amortization is not budgeted for fund accounting. So that creates a dip. So your annual surplus under the PSAS standard is $567,050. So we'll see note 5, the reconciliation of your audited statement operation surplus versus the fund account. Your accumulated surplus at the end of the year is 12.2 compared to 11.6 the year before.
So can you, for those of us who aren't counting, knowledgeable, what is this accumulated surplus? What does that represent?
So the accumulated surplus would be the surplus that the municipality incurred every year. So you keep adding a surplus and you would deduct deficit. So in a company would be like your retained earnings. So it's really just since the beginning, you keep adding the surplus year after year. And then if it's a deficit or loss, then you decrease.
So that's an accumulative number for X amount of years.
Yeah. And
So what's the difference between this and, bear with me here.
Yeah, no, these are good questions.
What is the difference between this number and, let's say, a balance of account? We don't have $12 million in the bank.
Oh, gosh,
That
no.
would be nice.
I know. No, I'm not asking, I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what, are these assets we're talking about as opposed to, like physical assets or?
Maybe do you want to explain the PSAB requirements of having an accumulated surplus? Because I think that's probably the differentiator between what would be a,
Yeah.
Public-
fund accounting
yeah.
surplus versus
Yeah.
PSAS surplus. So here, your audited statements, the public sector accounting standards that we call, they're like as if you're running a business. They follow like a general corporation standard. You capitalize your capital assets. So here, if you own roads, your buildings, your equipment, the fire hall, your fire trucks, they're all part of the surplus that. you
Okay,
have.
I get it now. Okay,
So that would be the main.
right, that's what I figured, but I couldn't see it here like in front of my face, so.
Yeah, yeah, it'll
Thank
be
you.
on the next few pages, you'll see where it flows to, but in a nutshell, it can be again explained.
Thank you.
Right? Now, if we move on to the statement of change in net debt, that's on page 4 of the statement. So here, it's a reconciliation of your net debt beginning of year till the end, up to the end of the year, and we'll see these numbers on the next page. But just high level, just the main adjustments relate to your acquisition of tangible capital assets. In 2023, you bought capital assets of 1.2 million. The municipality invested in. The main one was your fire truck. You started, I think, the fire hall, there's been some renovations. So those are the main two. And then the amortization of tangible capital assets. Well, here we capitalize all your assets. Every year we take an expense. We kind of write it off annually. So 487,000 is the amount we took for 2023. And the loss of disposal on tangible capital assets, I think that's the house on McDonald Road.
Yeah.
The net book value that was left, that was amortized, is being written off to zero. Okay. So now if we go on the next page, which is the statement of the financial position. This is really a picture, December 31st, end of the, what the municipality had in cash, receivable, capital assets, minus the debt. So it's really at a specific point in time. So in terms of your financial assets, you had your cash, your accounts receivable, and your investments, which are all the term deposits that are held in your reserve fund. So you had a total of financial asset of 2.2 million. Your cash was at 1.3, your receivables was at 533, and your investments, your term deposits. And your receivable was mainly the sales tax and the grant. And then you have your liability, so the amount that you owed at that same date, December 31st. So you have your accounts payable, a little bit of deposit, the deferred revenue, the 442,000, that's the Canada Community Building Fund, the former gas tax. So you receive money, but it's only recorded as a revenue when you apply it against a specific capital asset. So at the end of December 2023, you had 402,000 left that has not been used yet. That, the community building. And then the short-term debt that's new this year, that's the financing that you've received, and you got approval from the province to finance it. Just, I think, also to start with the, building the fire. That'll be transferred into a long-term debt or debenture once you receive the funds. The long-term debt at the end of December, you had financing for 740,000. And the accrued benefit liability, that's the actuarial provision that's done for your pension liability for the relation. Your total liabilities were 2.2 million. So if we take your assets, your cash that you had minus your debt, you see the net financial assets or debt at the end of December was 16,276. And then we add your non-financial assets, which are your capital assets. So the 12.2 million represents all the capital assets that the municipality owns, minus every year the amortization that we took. It's the net amount. So there's 12.2 million that has not been amortized or the book value. And if you take your net debt minus your tangible capital assets, you arrive at your cumulative surplus of the 12.2. Whether you see your surplus is pretty much your capital. Okay. Now, if we move to the next cash flow, the statement of cash flow, the reconciliation of your profit to your bank account. But here, I won't go through this statement. Already mentioned that you bought 1.2 million of capital assets, and you received some temporary financing of 747. And in 2023, you repaid 142,000 on your loan. Now, in terms of your note, so there was some new standards in 2023, but there was no impact on your financial statement. There was a new asset retirement obligation, but based on our analysis, we did not have any item or property that. So there was no impact on your financial statement. Under note 1, we added a paragraph just to state the new amalgamation that took place January 1st, 2023. In terms of your accounting policy, they're the same as prior years. And if we go note 3, just a description of the change in accounting policy, but once again, it did not impact municipality's financial statement. So we'll go to note 4. Note 4 is the reconciliation of the budget. So here you'll see the budgeted numbers that were provided to the and approved by the province for the general operating fund and the utility operating fund. And you see the budget always comes to 0, but then we make adjustments to get to the PSAS budget that were presented on the statement of operation. Note 5 is here is where there's a reconciliation of the PSAS accounting surplus that we saw on a statement of operation versus your annual surplus or deficit under your fund accounting. So maybe if we go under general operating fund, which is the second column, note 5. So for PSAS purposes, the general operating fund had a surplus of 741,000. And then if we bring it to your fund accounting surplus, we need to deduct the pension plan. We need to adjust for the prior year surpluses, because there's always the second prior year, you need to include your surplus or deficit from fund accounting. So it was 15,772. The capital expenditure, the 254,000. So those are the capital expenditure that were funded, I guess, by your operating fund. Okay, so when you buy capital items, you always have a choice: do I pay them through my operating budget? Do I finance it, or do I take money from the reserves or get grants? The 254,000, that's the amount that was paid through your operating budget. And then you repaid your long-term debt, and under your fund accounting, that's an expense under your operating fund. So the general operating fund paid 88,000. You transferred 325,000 to the reserve fund, so that decreases your operating budget. And then there were other transfers between utility and general fund between the two. The utility fund always pays a portion to the general fund for administration and other items, which is going to be 230. If we make all the adjustments, you get your fund accounting surplus for general operating of 257,000 for 2023. So that's the surplus in the operating. Now, if we go under the utility operating fund, which is your fourth column, under PSS standard, you started as a profit of 140,000. But then we have to deduct our long-term debt repayment. That's an expense under fund accounting, which was 54,000. And then we deduct the transfer that was done to the general operating fund of 232,000. So your utility fund, the sewer fund, had a deficit of 140. So the net of the two creates a surplus of 112. They're separate funds. So the profit in your general operating fund will have to flow as revenue in your 2025. Budgeted fund numbers, and the sewer loss of 144 will be like an expense in your 2025 fund budget. So other than that, your other, I'm not gonna go through all the notes, maybe under long-term debt, so if we go to note 11. So note in 11 or note 10 is a new note because the short-term debt that you've received, as we disclose that you've received a demand loan of 800. The municipality also has a line of credit that's disclosed in note 10. And in note 11, you'll see the debentures that are outstanding at the end as of December 31st. You'll see the 740,000 in the breakdown. Then you see the payments that are required for the next 5 years based on the debentures that were outstanding at the end of December. Now, there's one ratio that I know a lot of municipalities look at, and is to look at how much debt or payments plus interest you make in a year in percentage of your operating budget. You don't want your operating budget to have too much, like just goes for paying the debt interest. So you're in a really good position. You're actually below. When I made the calculation for your general fund this year, 2% of your operating budget went to pay the debt and interest. And in the sewer fund, that's 12.7%. It's always higher in the sewer fund because the budget is low. So you're still low. And if you compare to prior years, you were at 4.2 in the general fund, 2%. You have a higher volume, higher budget, but you don't have a lot.
You just wait.
So yeah, so just to give you an idea, so at 2%, it's a lower. Okay. So other than that, I don't think I have anything that I wanted to flag. Unless you wanted to go to, or maybe the reserve fund, so maybe go note 15, just to give you an idea. So at the end of the year, the amount you had in reserves, your note 15 on page 20, so your general your general operating reserve fund had a balance of 90,000. And just remember your operating reserve, there is a limit of how much you can put in. And your general fund is the 5% of prior year budget. So if you look at your 2023 budget and you take 5%, it's 271,000. So you could put up to funds, I guess, up to 271,000 next year in your general operating fund. And then your utility capital reserve fund, you're at 655,000. And there's no limit in the capital reserve fund. They're just limiting the operating fund. They don't allow you to just put money in. Those are your final.
Does that mean that we actually have that much money in the fund?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
And other than that, I'm not sure if you had, there's all the schedule, so the schedule just gives a breakdown of the revenues and expenses. They give more details. I'm not sure if there's any questions or you'd like me to go through certain schedules.
Yeah, basically, we accept it as presented for official ratification at the next. There's a motion or recommendation, sorry, on the floor. And then if there's further questions.
Should I make the recommendation? Move the council approve the 2023 annual report for the town of Salisbury as presented and refer the matter to the next regular council meeting for official ratification.
Blaine?
That was
Oh.
Yeah, that was the wrong.
Oh,
Is that the wrong one?
sorry, I wasn't even listening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I'll move that
Where was-
council approve the 2023 audit for the town
Oh.
of Salisbury as presented forward the
You
audit
get
to
the
the
next one.
next council meeting for official ratification.
Moved by Councilor Lee, second. by Councilor Ford. Questions to the motion?
So who seconded? Sorry.
No questions to the motion, all in favor?
Okay.
Contrary minded?
Good.
Thank you for all your team's work, getting all of our questions responded to. Our pestering, wanting it to be presented at this committee of the whole meeting. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Safe travels home tonight. With that, let's move on to item number 3, presentation of the 2023 annual report and strategic plan progress.
So council has, just as a note, it's too large, mostly because of image size, to be included in the council package itself. So it's included in the body of the email as a shareable link. Just for formalities, essentially, we thought it would be prudent to update council and provide them the annual report and have it officially received, because this is our first annual report since the strategic plan was adopted by council last year. So there are all of the formalities of attendance, as we spoke about, all of those things that have to be included that are prescribed in the Local Governance Act. But then we've also taken the opportunity to include a strategic plan update, which I'll note only goes to December 31st. So very similar to the audit. Thank you. Very similar to the audit. It's a snapshot in time. So that was from essentially July until December. So there are some notes there. Just as a quick verbal update to give council a bit of a snapshot as to where we're at right now as it relates to the strategic plan. We're tracking along with a lot of items. If you look through in the strat plan, there is a essentially chart under each pillar that has the action items that are for each year. 2024 has the majority of them either starting or being done in 2024. I think we all know it's a very busy one. Most of the projects are proceeding on track for what we anticipated this year. There's a few delays that I'll raise as opposed to running through everything that is on track. I'll run through some of the ones that we're just seeing either delays or postponement on, depending on the issue. One of them is a strategic plan action item as it relates to specifically recruitment of doctors or family physicians with Horizon Health. That's over the full period of the strategic plan. There's nothing specific that has been done thus far in 2024. Although within the last year, as noted in the annual report, there's been services increase. So an LCT or licensed counseling therapist, the MOU has been updated, so it's not for sake of actions not being done. It's just that specific of the strat plan is what we would say is delayed. Another one relates to the Spring Gardens treatment facility. So no further discussions have occurred on that to date. However, we are in conversations with the province as it relates to the essentially equivalent of land for public purpose in that area. The Polishing Pond stabilization project was delayed. It was intended to be done in 2023. It was supposed to be tendered and awarded. There were delays last year as it relates to provincial permitting approvals, and it is anticipated that this work will be done this year. We're currently in post-tender negotiations. Council is very familiar with this asset, the culvert at Route 106 or on Route 106 between Parkin and Larson. That's an NVDTI project, but given its importance is in the strat plan, that's delayed due to land acquisition as noted in the provincial 3-year ahead plan. There's a strat plan item, again, a multi-year piece looking at riverbank erosion. We've had some conversations in last year, but have not done anything formal, but do continue conversations with partners, mainly the Petitcodiac Watershed Alliance, who have received funding for that. The second to last is electric vehicle charging stations, determining a strategy for that. we're exploring options for integrating some into some new public facilities, being the fire hall, but have not formalized any confirmed funding, but it's something that we look at regularly because here and there, some options do come out. And then last but not least, not postponed, but technically delayed is the signing of a long-term plan for the Lions Pool. So we've extended our MOU. The lease is drafted, has been reviewed. It's a sake of finalizing a schedule, which was pending some funding confirmation, which we received on Friday of last week. So now we can start those conversations again once we bring a plan to council. That's my verbal update. Things are going very well. And I'll echo thanks to staff for their good work in keeping these projects moving. Teamwork makes the dream work, and this plan is what sets our priorities. So we're making good progress, and I think the annual report shows that there's lots on the go. Next year's annual report, it seems like there's a lot of things missing, but a lot of it has technically happened in 2024. We often said that. What about a photo of this, or what about a photo of that? But it's all things that have happened this year. So it'll be a doozy next year.
I'm gonna say, what about a photo of, because we attended the tractor grand opening in 2023 and it's not on here.
It's the tractor. Oh, I don't think we have any photos.
Well,
Of
there
that
were a
one.
bunch of us there.
Yes,
Should we definitely
Yes,
have photos?
we should
that
highlight that.
should Be highlighted.
was that in,
That was 2023 because we were new last year. It was one of the first.
was it? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got
see?
some photos.
okay,
That
so
was
we
a
will,
big-
we will add those.
That
Yes,
was a big one.
we will add those.
Yeah.
Was it in the,
I feel like it was in spring.
okay,
Nice weather.
It was in, I feel like it was in like early.
They were able to
spring.
get the paving done prior to the opening.
Yeah.
we have lots of photos from 2024 that are saved for next year's annual report at this point, but that, I thought it
No,
was,
I
but
wasn't,
I think
wasn't
they
here in
started.
2022.
I think they started in 2022, but I think it was opened last
Yeah,
year.
no, the grand opening was
Oh,
definitely.
definitely,
last year.
definitely, because
Yeah.
they waited on the siding.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Well, I got a picture of my hat that I got at the opening.
It was
on
June of
14th,
2023.
it was definitely 2023.
We'll grab
John,
some photos.
Email me those.
Well, I wasn't here in
June 2023.
2022 and I was at that grand opening,
Right.
so,
Yeah, we.
Yes, we will add that photo for
Yeah.
sure.
First,
Yeah.
second week of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sent us something else.
Yeah.
That's in our email.
Perfect.
yeah.
Good catch.
Well, that's the big one. I expected to see it there when I was reading through it and I'm like, oh. Okay, well, the giant tiger was this year,
Yeah.
but we had that one
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
that was highlighted.
I think next
Yeah.
year, what's gonna be a major eye opener for a lot of people is the amount of grants that we got.
Yes,
You know, because, I
yes.
mean, it was good what we had this year, but we all know it's gonna open
Yeah.
people's eyes next year, how much money.
Sure.
Well, the report just shows how much is being done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible. It
A lot of
really is.
transparency there. It's
Yes,
fantastic.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree.
So do we need,
Yeah, so there's a motion for the annual report. We combined essentially as noted on the agenda, but Councilor Tory,
Can I
do you
do
want
it
to go
again?
with this motion?
I move again, the council approve the 2023 annual report for the town of Salisbury as presented and refer the matter to the next regular council meeting for official ratification.
So secondly,
so moved by, Councilor Tory, seconded by Deputy Mayor Glore. Just want to make sure we get that last one in. Any questions to the motion? The motion, all in favor?
Hi.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Good job.
Yeah, great report.
Very good.
So pretty.
So it's going on the website.
Well,
After it's ratified. yeah.
After it's
So the auditors technically have to look through. They have to like formally note that they've seen it. We have changes, confirm numbers. We would like to do what we were a bit of crunch time trying to get the design of the last version.
Great.
So we'll do another read through and then it gets officially ratified July and then it gets posted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we could-
Okay, so now, closed session financial 68(1)C Local Governance Act litigation or potential litigation, 68(1)G Local Governance Act. Do I have a motion to enter into closed, please? So moved by Councilor Venus, seconded by Councilor Thorne. Questions to the motion? Questions to the motion, all in favor? Reminded, we are now entering into closed, and we wait for